United States Congress honored Rosa Parks as the First Lady of Civil Rights and the mother of the Freedom Movement for refusing to give up her seat on a bus. Here is her story. Rosa Louise Parks was born on February 14, 1913 in Tuskegee, Alabama. Her parents were James McCauley, a carpenter, and Leona Edwards, a teacher. Her family valued education very much. Shortly after the birth of her brother, Sylvester, her parents split up. When she was just 2 years old, she, her brother, and her mother moved to her grandparents' farmhouse in Pine Level, Alabama. As a child, Rosa would witness nightly raids by the Ku Klux Klan. Some nights her family would sleep with their clothes on in fear of having to flee their home in the middle of the night. Rosa, a timid girl, also had a feisty side. She would sit next to her grandfather, who would have a loaded shotgun in hand while watching the Ku Klux Klan go by in the street. There were often lynchings near her grandparents' farm, but no one in her family ever got harmed. Because she was colored, she had to go to school in a one-room building with a 5-month term where her mother taught. At 11, Rosa completed her education at Pine Level, and her family moved to Montgomery, Alabama. Her mother enrolled her in Montgomery Industrial School for Girls. She eventually attended high school at Alabama State Teachers College in 1927. At 16, during the 11th grade, she dropped out to care for her sickly grandmother, Rose Edwards, who later died in 1929. As Rosa prepared to return to school, her mother got ill and Rosa stayed to care for her. She got married at 19 in 1930 and later graduated high school in 1934 at the age of 21. Raymond Parks, Rosa's husband, was 29, 10 years older than Rosa was. He had received little to no formal education because of racial segregation, so he encouraged her to graduate from high school. Raymond was a neatly dressed man with a thorough knowledge of current events. He was a barber and also an activist in the effort to free the Scottsboro Boys in the 1930s. Raymond and Rosa worked for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP. Raymond was an active member, while Rosa served as the local branch's secretary and later youth leader. Rosa was the secretary to its president Edgar Nixon for 13 years. In 1944, at 31, she began working on the Maxwell Air Force Base. This base was a federally owned site and discrimination wasn't allowed. This was a huge turning point in Rosa's attitude towards civil rights. It gave her a taste of equality and fueled her determination to fight for civil rights and equality. In December of 1959, Rosa attended an assembly at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church to listen to a speech given by Dr. T.M. Howard. He played a crucial role in the Emmett Till case by organizing and locating witnesses. Howard spoke in front of a packed mass assembly because 2 men who had killed Till, Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam, had been acquitted by an all-white jury. Rosa was filled with anger and distress as she listened to Howard explain the lynching of Emmett. Rosa boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, through the back door and sat down in the colored section, right behind the white section. When the white section filled up, the driver came back and asked the row that she was sitting in to stand up and move back. The 3 other people sitting next to her stood up, but she refused. 2 police officers came, assessed the situation, and placed Rosa in custody. She used her one phone call to contact her husband, and word got out quickly. Edgar Nixon was there when she was released on bail a couple of hours later. Later, he convinced Rosa, her husband, and her mother that she was the plaintiff he had been looking for to challenge the segregation laws. Nixon had an idea about boycotting the buses on the day of the trial. They mimogrammed 35,000 flyers to be sent home with the black school children to inform their parents about the planned boycott on December 5th, the same day as her trial. On December 5th, Rosa was found guilty of violating the segregation laws and fined the equivalent of $161 today, which would have been an impactful amount for someone with her income. The boycott was a huge success, bringing many people together and raising awareness throughout the community. Building on the success of the boycott, Nixon and a few other ministers formed the MIA, or the Montgomery Improvement Association. They then elected. Over the next 11 months, there continued to be eat-ins, swim-ins, sit-ins, and more throughout the South and the rest of the country. Many white people were angry and violence arose. Both Nixon's and Martin Luther King Jr.'s houses were bombed, but that didn't stop the boycotters or their leaders. Over time, the events in Montgomery received attention from the national and international press. Then, on November 13, 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that bus segregation was unconstitutional. This helped set the stage to bring equality for all. In 1999, she was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest honor the United States bestows. Then at age 92, on October 24th, 2005, she passed away. She's the first woman in the history of the nation to lie in honor at the U.S. Capitol. I chose to research Rosa Parks because despite the challenges she faced, Rosa's courage and determination made her a force to be reckoned with, and her actions on that Montgomery bus would inspire a generation of young activists and changemakers.